The next speaker we're privileged to introduce is Joanne Weiss, Chief of Staff for the Secretary of Education, Arnie Duncan. And if I could just take a moment, I don't know that I've ever heard the Secretary, Joanne, give a speech about teaching in which he's not talked about National Board Certified Teachers, because he constantly is referring to his experience in Chicago, whereas one of his reform initiatives was to significantly increase the number of National Board Certified Teachers. That was a reform measure in his mind, and we certainly saw the number grow. And we're fortunate to have Joanne Weiss as Chief of Staff to the Secretary of Education. She joined the department in 2009 to serve as Senior Advisor to the Secretary and Director of Race to the Top Fund. In this capacity, she led the department's $4.35 billion Race to the Top program designed to encourage and reward states making system-wide, comprehensive, and coherent education reforms. Prior to joining the administration, she was Partner and Chief Operating Officer at New Schools Venture Fund, a venture philanthropy from working to transform public education by supporting education entrepreneurs and connecting their work to systemic change. I would describe, my own adjective to describe Joanne is peripatetic. You were truly everywhere, making things happen. And it's evident from her passion for education and that all of her career, which has been pioneering innovative work that increases the effectiveness of teaching and learning processes. Joanne Weiss.
Thank you so much. You scared me with that. I wasn't sure whether we were going to pathetic or I wasn't sure where we were going. But thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here and to be sandwiched between luminaries from Secretary Riley to Michelle Cahill, Governor Weiss, Governor Hunt. In light of the distinguished list of speakers, I want to keep my comments brief. The Secretary is sorry that he couldn't be here with everybody today, but he did have 2 points that he asked me to make. First, he wanted me to give a big shout out to the National Board for its tremendous accomplishments over the last quarter century. I was worried for a minute that Bob was going to steal my thunder and give some of Arnie's stats on what he did in Chicago, but luckily he didn't, so I'll share those with you in a minute. And second, he asked that I also talk about some of the challenges and very real opportunities that lie ahead in the coming years. I think it's easy to forget now, but when the National Board started 25 years ago, it faced a lot of skeptics. There were a lot of people in education who called this mission impossible, who thought that creating professional standards for what teachers should know and be able to do was really well-meaning fantasy. Educators and experts alike really questioned whether the board could come up with valid ways to measure teacher quality and reliably distinguish excellent educators. And today, I'm happy to say that it's clear that the National Board proved the skeptics wrong. You succeeded beautifully in creating, testing, and implementing rigorous standards of teaching and practice, and you've done what no one else has done. You've done it across 16 content areas that span 25 different certificates. We're not just talking about mathematics and English language arts. It's really across an incredible gamut of content areas that are so important, and it's such a tribute to what you've contributed to the field in really making sure that we keep a broad view of what a well-rounded education looked like. You're also committed to keeping your certifications current, as demonstrated by your newly updated mathematics and reading language arts standards that are now aligned with the Common Core. You also pioneered the use of videotaped classroom work and portfolios for evaluating teaching practice and student learning, 2 practices that are finally gaining real currency nationwide. And the board's high-quality, multi-year professional development is credited by almost all the teachers that you speak with in helping them to really powerfully reflect on and improve their craft. A lot of the ones that I've spoken to, in fact, the vast majority will call it the most powerful professional development they've ever experienced in their careers. So not coincidentally, the number of National Board Certified teachers soared from just 177 teachers in 1994 to the almost 100,000 that you heard spoken about today. In Governor Hunt's home state of North Carolina, I think almost 1 in 5 teachers is now board certified. I also want to point out how much we in the Obama administration have learned from the work of the National Board. Our new RESPECT program has the same essential mission that the National Board has had for the last quarter century. We're seeking to build a true profession for teachers, one that's really anchored in demonstrated expertise and offering career opportunities, autonomy, collaboration, compensation, and the status that accrues to comparable professions. We really need you and your 97,000 foot soldiers out there, your National Board Certified teachers, to continue to lead the way so that we can have policies that follow behind in intelligent ways. We need you to keep promoting career pathways that provide opportunities for increasingly responsible roles, whether teachers choose to stay in the classroom, become instructional leaders, or move into administration. We really need your help in rethinking compensation so it's more aligned with teacher effectiveness, with levels of responsibility, so that it's high enough to attract and retain a highly skilled workforce, and so that it's consistent with the societal regard that should be accorded to this profession as it is to other professions. We also really need you to stay out front calling for distributed leadership and shared responsibility for schools where coalitions of principals and teachers create cultures of continuous learning. So we need all of this, but we also need, I think, a little bit more. We would like to see the National Board make student learning a core component of how it systematically evaluates in each of these 25 different certificate areas teacher performance, building a really robust link between board certification and classroom effectiveness. I can't overemphasize how important it is, especially at this moment in time, for your deep thinking about practice to really be connected to evidence taken from multiple sources of student academic growth. The field just needs your ability to think deeply about these problems instead of the sometimes surface way that I think we're approaching these questions. We'd also like to see the National Board really continue to expand its ranks in school leadership positions, especially in the highest need schools. Today, I'm delighted to say that more than half, 55% of the NBCTs teach in Title I eligible high need schools. That's terrific, but it's not enough. Your voice can help make our neediest schools the most prestigious places to work in education, so that it's the capstone of a great teacher's career. Finally, as you all know, when Secretary Duncan was CEO of Chicago Public Schools, he really pushed for a dramatic expansion of the National Board program. During his 7-year tenure, the number of NBCTs in Chicago Public Schools went from 11 to over 1,200. Even more encouraging, today 90% of the Chicago teachers who became NBCTs are still teaching in Chicago Public Schools. The power of what you do is incredible, and it's exactly what we need in education right now. But we need more than just the 3% of teachers who are NBCTs today. We need accomplished teachers in every single classroom. We need every student to have an effective teacher. That should be the norm, not the exception. In other professions like medicine, accounting, engineering, architecture, board certification's expected. About 90% of physicians are board certified, and most of us have probably never even considered going to one who wasn't. I think Ron Thorpe recently said that NBCTs should not seek to become the Mensa of the teaching force. It should be a way of setting a standard to which all members of the profession aspire. You have the Secretary's full support in scaling toward this goal. Let me just close with one sort of personal thought about Ron. I had the fabulous pleasure of working with him over the past few years in organizing the first 2 international summits on the teaching profession. Ron is an outstanding teacher himself. He's also a great scholar of the field and a great learner. But on top of that, he is so smart, he is wildly creative, he's deeply caring, and he gets things done. It's no secret, I know, that in this era of tight budgets, earmarks are drawing to an end. That's hard for nonprofits like the National Board, and it's hard on education in general. But in Ron, I think you found an innovative fundraiser, but much more importantly, a really visionary leader for the next decades. You couldn't have picked a better person to lead the organization into the next quarter century. So congratulations to Ron. Good luck for another 25 outstanding years, and thank you so much for inviting me.